Welcome to another episode of Geometry with Mr. Selby. So, in today's episode, we're going to be looking at parallel lines and transversals. Um, you guys might be like, what are parallel lines and what are transversals? Well, this is pretty important because it'll allow us to um, it'll allow us to be able to identify what different angles are in relation. We're going to really look at angle pairs today. So, corresponding angles, alternate interior angles. I know that doesn't really make sense now. However, once you can identify these pairs of angles, you'll be able to use properties that we're going to learn in the next two lessons. All right. You'll be able to use those same properties with the angles that you've identified. All right. And you'll be able to solve for missing numbers. All right. And that might be like, why would I ever need that in the real world? Well, I think for geometry, you can almost always go to the architect example. But you might also want to go to like any kind of example um, based on the city building, city planning, anything like that. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we've used angle and line segment relationships to prove theorems. That's what we did with proofs and everything last time. Now we're going to identify the relationship between two lines and two planes. And we're also going to name angle pairs formed by parallel lines and transversals. All right. So new vocabulary we've got first is parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that are on the same plane but never intersect. All right. We also have skew lines, which never intersect but are on different planes. Parallel planes, which are planes that never intersect, and transversals, which is a line that cuts through two other lines. Interior angles, we're going to go through them along with exterior angles. Consecutive interior, alternate exterior, corresponding angles. We've got a good amount today. All right, parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. All right, so when you have parallel lines, they'll have a double arrow here, okay? See how there's arrows on each side, these blue arrows on each side of the lines, okay? When you see an extra arrow, that means that those two lines are parallel, all right? So JK and LM are parallel, as you can see here. Actually, this line cutting through right here is actually transversal. We'll get through that in a little bit. Skew lines are lines that do not intersect and are not coplanar. And that would be like line L and line M. They're skew. So an example in real life would be the back corner of the room where the two walls intersect and it forms a line. Okay, and then the floor and the opposite wall form another line, and they would never intersect, but they are skew because they're on different planes. Parallel planes are planes that do not intersect, so plane A and plane B. All right, as you can see, they'll never intersect, no matter how far on they go. All right, this is where it becomes a challenge. Name all segments parallel to BC. So BC is right here. All right, remember, to be parallel, they have to be on the same plane. Let's see. Well, it just gave us the answer, but so AD right here shares its front plane. Okay. EH shares the back plane with them. All right. So essentially, if you cut through the figure, there would be a back plane there. All right. And then FG shares this plane as well. Okay. Name a segment skew to EH. So there's quite a few. All right. AB. So as you can see, here is EH in the back. Okay. So these will be lines that aren't exactly parallel, but will never intersect because they're not on the same plane. So AB, okay, will never intersect with EH. CD will never intersect with EH. BG will never intersect with EH. And CF will never intersect with EH. And none of them are on the same plane. All right, name a plane parallel to plane ABG. So this is ABG right here on the bottom. So a plane parallel would probably be the top plane, EFC or CDE. All right. So now's your turn. Why don't you guys take a second, pause this if you need to, check your notes, figure out, name a plane that is parallel to plane RST. Okay, hopefully you were able to solve this. A plane parallel to plane RST. Okay, so RST is the top, so you would probably name the bottom here, which would be, let's see, X, Y, Z, and W. So WXY looks like C could be the correct answer, and it is. All right, plane WTZ intersect right here at line QT. SYZ intersects right here at ST. WXY does not intersect because one's the top, the other one's the bottom. And then QRX intersects right here at line QR. All right, same thing. Take a second, pause if you need to, check your notes, figure it out. All right, hopefully you were able to solve this one on your own. Name a segment that intersects with segment YZ. So here is YZ. So there's a few segments that intersect. You could say WZ. You could say XY. All right, and luckily XY is our first option. So I think we're pretty safe saying that, XY. WX does not. Okay, those are actually parallel lines. QW does not. Those are actually skew lines with YZ. And then RS is also skew to YZ. Name a segment that is parallel to RX. So RX is kind of the side over here. So there's three options for this. You could say QW, TZ, or SY. ZW is actually skew. That one wouldn't work. TZ would work. All right. QR, they actually intersect, so that wouldn't work. And then ST, they're actually skew as well. So TZ has got to be our correct answer here. Okay, so now we get into identifying pairs of angles. And this is, there's one part that you really need to focus on, it's this one. All right, so we've got our transversal, which is this line right here, T. Okay, and then we've got our two lines, Q and R. So when the transversal cuts through these two lines, we've got an interior and two exteriors, okay? The interior angles are between Q and R, and the exterior angles are outside of Q and R, okay? Consecutive interior angles are angles that are in the interior but lie on the same side as T, same side of T. So 4 and 5, 3 and 6, okay? All right. Alternate interior angles are on the opposite side of T, but are inside of the interior. So that would be 3 and 5 and 6 and 4. So 3 and 5, 6 and 4. Okay. Alternate exterior angles are angles that are on the outside, okay? And that would be like 1 and 7 because they're alternating, and 2 and 8. And then corresponding angles lie on the same side of T, okay? Same side and on the same side of lines Q and R. So 1 and 5. 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. So this is probably a critical time for you to pause the video here and take a second if you need to and see what's going on here with this. All right, maybe write down some definitions, get down a little bit of information here. All right, hopefully you copied it down. We're going to keep going. So classify the relationship between angle 2 and angle 6 as alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior. Okay, so we've got C would be our transversal, if there was one, and 2 and 6 are not alternate interior because 6 is not an interior angle, and alternate exterior because 2 is not an exterior angle. They could be corresponding, okay, and they're not consecutive interior because 6 does not appear to be an interior angle. Let's check. So it's corresponding. All right. As you can see, they're both on the same side of C and on the same side of A or B. All right. All right, angles 1 and 7. All right, so as you can see, they are both exterior angles, so they're not alternate interior. And they're on alternating sides of the transversal, which is C. So therefore, angle 1 and angle 7 would be alternating exterior. Okay, they're not corresponding because they're on opposite sides of C, and they're not consecutive interior because they're both exterior angles. Classify the relationship between angle 3 and angle 8 as alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior angles. So 3 and 8, they both appear to be interior, but they're not alternate. They're on the same side. They're not exterior, they're interior. They're not corresponding because they're both interior angles, and they are consecutive interior angles, right next to each other, and interior angles. All right, 3 and 5. So these both appear to be interior angles on alternate sides of C, so I would say it is alternate interior. Again, they're interior, not exterior. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, which is C here, and they're not, again, they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so they can't be consecutive. Alternate interior. All right, we're moving. All right, classify the relationship between angle 4 and angle 5. Why don't you guys take a second and try and solve this one on your own. Okay, so as you can see, 4 and 5 are both cut by the transversal P. Okay, they are not alternate sides of P, so they can't be alternate interior, so we know A is wrong. We know that they're both on the interior of their respective lines. Okay, so we know alternate exterior is incorrect. We know they're not corresponding because they're adjacent. Okay, and whenever angles are next to each other, they're not corresponding. And they do appear to be consecutive interior because they're both interior angles and they're both on the same side of P. So it is going to be consecutive interior. All right, 7 and 9. Why don't you guys take a second, see if you can solve this one on your own. Okay, so 7 and 9 are not on all, or 7 is not an interior angle, so they can't be alternate interior. They can be alternate in general because they're both on the same side of the transversal line P. They're both below line P, so they can't be alternate exterior. They could be corresponding because, as you can see, this one's kind of on like the southwest side of its little intersection. This one's also on the southwest side of its little intersection. So it looks to be corresponding. And they're not consecutive interior because they're not right next to each other and they're not on the same. Yeah, they're just not next to each other. And 7 is not an interior angle. So it's got to be corresponding, and that's what it is. All right, angle 4 and angle 7. All right, so they are not interior angles. So A is definitely incorrect. They're not corresponding because they're on opposite sides of line P, and they're not consecutive interior because they're both exterior angles, so it's got to be alternate exterior. All right, angle 2 and angle 11. All right, when you see something like this, best thing to do is forget line M even exists. All right, so for this one, it would actually be alternate interior because they would both be considered interior angles and they're opposite sides of line P, the transversal. Okay, a bus station. The driveways at a bus station are shown. Identify the transversal connecting angle 1 and angle 2, then classify the relationship between the pair of angles. All right, so driveways at a bus station are shown. So these are all the driveways. Transversal connecting angle 1 and angle 2. All right, then classify it. So looks like this is the line. This could be the transversal, and these could be the two lines. So line V is the transversal right there, and they are corresponding angles. As you can see, they're both on, I guess you could say, the north side and the north side. So I would say connected by V, corresponding angles. All right, identify the transversal connecting 2 and 3. Classify the pair. So I would say it's also line V. all right, and they're alternate interior. So this one, they're both interior angles, and they're both on opposite sides of the transversal, which is line B. All right, 4 and 5. So this one becomes a little bit tougher. All right, it's going to say the transversal is line Y. All right, and they are consecutive interior angles. This is a little bit tougher. As you can see, it says T right here, I guess would be the other line. Y would be the transversal. So as you can see, they're both interior angles and adjacent to each other. All right, a group of nature trails is shown. Identify the sets of lines to which line A is a transversal. All right, so as you can see, line A only crosses two lines, and those lines would be C and F. Oh, I'm sorry. C, D, E, and F? Which line is this? Line A is a transversal for C, D, E, and F? Oh, whoops. Yeah, my bad on this one, guys. D would eventually cross it, as would E. Sorry about that. So this one would actually be D. Wow, Mr. Selby was wrong, and I looked through the PowerPoint before this. Sorry about that, guys. So as you can see, as we know, lines go on forever. So D would eventually cross up here if you extended these lines. E would eventually cross down here if you extended these lines. So there are actually four transversals. My bad on that one, guys. All right. Identify the sets of lines to which line B is a transversal. Mr. Selby's not going to get this one wrong. As you can probably imagine, it is the same thing. Line A and B appear to be parallel, so it'd be every other line would be a transversal. All right, identify the sets of lines to which line C would be a transversal. All right, this should be every line, okay? All lines will eventually cross line C, okay? Which means line C will eventually be a transversal for all of them. All right, that is it for today. Besides Mr. Selby's little hiccup, I felt like it went pretty well. If you guys need any help with anything, please reach out anytime. You can message me on Schoology, come to my office hour, send me an email. Anything you guys need, I'm here, ready to go. So let me know. Hope everybody is staying happy, healthy, hydrated, and safe during this time. And hopefully I will see you guys soon. Thank you.